Well, let's get some business news for you now. And many of us have got used to watching blockbuster films from the comfort of our sofas during the COVID crisis. But now, in something of a seismic shock to the industry, Warner Brothers has announced it will make its entire slate of new releases available to stream on the same day that they're shown in the cinema. Well, for more on that, let's cross now to Yuka Roya from our business desk. And Yuka, could this be the start of a new era and the end of the cinema as we know it?
Well, I certainly hope not, and I'm sure you don't either. Warner Brothers says that it's a one-off measure just for 2021 to weather the coronavirus crisis as movie cinemas remain shut across much of the United States, and movie studios have had to lay off thousands of workers. But some believe that this so-called hybrid model of releasing films simultaneously in cinemas and on streaming could become the norm in the future, as the film industry faces growing competition from the likes of Netflix, Amazon and Apple. It's also important to remember that Warner Brothers was bought by AT&T back in 2018 in a controversial deal and is now part of an entertainment conglomerate called Warner Media, which also owns TV stations. Now, HBO Max, a subscription service, was launched in May of this year to directly take on those rivals in the streaming business. Warner Brothers had already announced that it would release Wonder Woman 1984 at Christmas in this format, but the decision to do the same for the entire slate of 17 films next year, including The Matrix 4, Suicide Squad and Godzilla vs. Kong, has come as a huge shock to the industry. Let's take a listen to what one analyst has to say.
This was a seismic event. You know, this is akin to the Hollywood sign falling down and sliding all the way down the mountain. This is a huge event that will change Hollywood probably forever. When we look back on this day, we will realize that streaming won the battle versus theatrical. And it's not to say that theatrical is done. It's not to say that theaters are just going to immediately close down. But we see this as a bridge to the next generation.
Really big changes there for the film industry. Well, let's move to another story, Yuka, because one about US-China relations, because there are media reports in the US that say the Justice Department is in talks with the lawyers of Meng Wanzhou, the chief financial officer of Huawei. And those talks could pave the way for her to be returned to China. She spent 2 years under house arrest in Canada, of course. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, Laura, this legal saga has been going on since December of 2018 when Meng Wanzhou was arrested in Canada on Washington's request. She's the chief finance officer, as you say, of Huawei and the daughter of its founder. She's accused of bank fraud charges related to Iran sanctions, but her detention exacerbated relationship between the US and China over cybersecurity and global tech supremacy. According to the Wall Street Journal that first reported on this news, talks between the US Justice Department and Meng's lawyers picked up after Joe Biden won the presidential election back in November. Her release could help diffuse tension slightly, but it's not clear if a new Biden administration will bring a dramatic shift in its policies versus Beijing. The president-elect has said that he will not immediately remove tariffs imposed on Chinese goods by President Trump and is under pressure to keep a hard line on Chinese tech. On Thursday, President Trump's intelligence chief said China posed the greatest threat to America and the rest of the free world since World War II. Biden may team up, though, with allies to take a more concerted approach on this matter. The European Union recently proposed establishing a transatlantic trade and technology council, basically to set up standards to squeeze China out of the global technology trade.
And Yuka, a quick look at how the markets are faring today.
Well, Brexit talks are weighing on investors' minds here in Europe as both sides are still unable to sort out disagreements over fisheries and state aid. Major bourses mixed this Friday on the continent. London's FTSE rising about 1% at midday, helped by a jump in oil prices. Paris's CAC 40 also up more modestly, while Germany's DAX dipped just below the flat line.
All right, Yuka, thank you very much indeed. Yuka Roya there with the business, and we'll have more on those Brexit talks going down to the wire after this short break. Stay with us. This is France 24.